Welcome to Acting 101 on Radnor Studio 21. I'm Ginger Freeze, and today we're going to be discussing breaking into the acting industry in the Philadelphia market, and my guest is Melanie Forchetti from Mike Lemon Casting. Melanie is an acting graduate from NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, and she had her own production company in New York City doing some feature films. She's worked in Los Angeles, for a top talent and literary agency, liaising between the studios and the agency's clients. She has also worked at The Firm, an A-list talent agent management company, handling the careers of celebrities like Terry Hatcher, Samuel L. Jackson, and Anthony LaPaglia. Thank you so much for coming today,
Hi, thanks
Melanie.
for having me.
Thanks. So I did want to discuss, as we're talking about breaking into the Philadelphia market, what is your best advice about headshots? Should people go professional? Or?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's one of the number one things you can do to get ready to be an actor is to have really great headshots. I look at them all day long, and I can certainly, see the ones that are professional versus the ones that are, selfies, that maybe a friend took or whatever. But it's a great way to kind of show yourself, and I think it's really worth the investment to have a couple that, that really represent you well.
Yes, yes, and I think that, your true self is very captivating. So I think that if you can find somebody that can find your distinctiveness, I think that sparkle in your eyes versus them turning, like and just
Yes,
not having
absolutely. And I think it's good to get a headshot that, as you said, represents you well. If you're funny, having a really headshot with a great smile on it, to really capture your personality. I think it's all about capturing yourself, and everybody's different. So, knowing what that is important before you get a headshot.
And do you find that there's anything usually that attracts your attention the most? Like it must be the eyes a bit, or
Yeah, definitely. You want to be looking into the camera. Color headshots are what you need these days. It used to be black and white, but now it's definitely color. You want a shot where we can see you. Believe it or not, I get a lot of headshots where it's all in the shadows and you can't really see the face very well. So you really want to be able to see the person and have some sort of personality behind it. You can tell a lot about a headshot. But you also want to make sure it looks like you. I have a lot of actors that will have a great headshot, but then they'll walk in the room and they'll look completely different. So make sure you look like your headshot, when you audition.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Great advice. Do you also find that if people didn't have the standard size of the headshot, is that a faux pas or?
So I'm old-fashioned. I believe in the 8x10 headshot, and I think that's the standard, and it's pretty much always been the standard. So it's worth the extra effort to get the 8x10 and to have a bunch of copies. Always have them handy. You'd be surprised at how many actors walk into an audition without one. And we are living in a digital age where your headshot is online, and certainly, I've seen it online, my clients have seen it online when you've been submitted, but having it in your hand when you walk into an audition is key. Kind of what happens after an audition is the clients and I will spread the headshots all over the table and, match people up if we're doing a family, or you kind of sort them out according to who we like, who we thought would be best for the part. So if you don't bring a headshot to the audition, you're not going to be in the pile. And it's really important to have one. Then what happens is my client takes it back to their client or to all of their colleagues at their office, and they do the same thing. So, certainly have a headshot when you come to an audition.
Yeah. So make sure you cut and paste if you if you don't have the industry size. Work on getting that. And so I guess my other question is about resumes. So as people are getting their experience, like can they put down extra work on there because they're still not, maybe their classes and extra work or.
So what I recommend is when you're getting started, put as much on there as you can. Certainly don't put the school play you were in third grade, put recent stuff. But if you have been doing extra work and trying to break in, it's okay to put it on there. You'll ultimately want to move it off when you have a lot of jobs. Just to get started, we want to see that you're working and that you're active, and even if you've done extra roles, it's okay when you're getting started to put it on there. Certainly training, that's a biggie. I always go on the resume to training to see where they've been studying if they're new. It shows a level of commitment to the profession. It shows that you are actively trying to better yourself, and I think education for me is huge. I think you can always be learning. So definitely, list all of the classes that you've been taking and the instructors, because I'll also want to know what kind of training you're having and who you're studying with. That actually tells me a lot about what to expect from you as an actor.
Okay.
One thing is don't lie on a resume. Some people will kind of stretch the truth, and I certainly, if you don't have anything to put on the resume, just don't put anything on your resume. I was at a feature film audition for a film I cast a couple years back, and I had the director in session with me, and he had his laptop, and he was on IMDb as everybody was coming through the door, and so he would be checking out the people and checking out the resume. And, and there was one person that put, a role down there that he couldn't find on the IMDb, but I actually knew the person, and he was a police officer on the show that he was on, but they'll check you out.
Okay.
And they might actually call you out on it. So, certainly be careful in that regard and try to stay true.
Yeah, that's good. I also think like on the resume you have the special skills and also honesty and maybe your own self-assessment and might be good.
Yes, absolutely. I've been to many sessions where my client will actually ask people to do the special skills they have. So if you can yodel or whatever, you may be asked to yodel in the session. But I like special skills. I like that section because it kind of also tells me a little bit about you and just a little personality. You can certainly put in there that you work with kids, or you are, you love animals, or if you have any kind of certifications other than acting, maybe you are a nurse or have a legal background. All that stuff is really good information to have when we're casting for roles.
Yeah, that's great.
Can be helpful.
Yeah, thank you. And how do people go about reaching out to casting directors?
That's a great question, and every casting director is different. We all use different resources to find actors, but our job mainly is to find you. So as an actor, knowing which resource each casting director uses is key. So we use an internal database where we post our jobs and find people that are on file with us. That means you have a portfolio in the system for us. But there are other casting directors that use kind of bigger databases that are national to find actors too. As a casting director, though, I use not only our internal database, but we'll post, especially if we need a wide reach for talent, we'll post it on other different online resources. But figuring out what each casting director uses is key. And you can certainly call the office and say, hi, how do I get on file with you? Or, how can I submit for your jobs? That's a great question to ask.
Yeah. Okay, that's wonderful.
Yep.
And also, do you do open calls or anything like that?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
That's where we meet new people. That's where we see fresh faces. An open call is more of a general call for talent. It's not specifically for a job, although when we see talent come in, we'll certainly consider them for all the jobs we're currently doing. But it's a great way to get to meet you. A lot of casting directors have open calls. It's another great question. And you can usually find out, on their websites if they do and when they are. For open calls, you'd need a 1-minute monologue and be prepared to read some cold commercial copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as monologues, is there any advice? So 1 minute, is it traditionally going to be like something you would get from like, a movie? And then you get into like this whole kind of like beginners might act like the actor in the movie or
Yeah. That's great. I encourage people to look at contemporary stuff. For what we do film, TV, commercials. So I'm looking for that kind of monologue that is current, from a character that you could portray. I've seen a lot at open calls around different monologues for characters that I would definitely never cast a person in. So definitely choose a character that is something that you could foresee yourself playing. I wouldn't go over a minute. A minute's kind of the benchmark.
What about any kind of theater monologues? Are they acceptable?
For theater work, sure.
Okay, yeah.
For theater work.
Just wonder if they can cross a little bit there. Okay.
Yep.
So keep it.
Yeah. Another kind of thing to keep in mind when you're auditioning is who you're auditioning for. Is the casting director casting for theater? Is it film? Is it TV? Is it a commercial? And really have a repertoire of monologues that you can pull from according to who you're in front of. Yeah.
And then maybe we could talk a little bit about auditioning, the whole audition process, because that's where, that's where a lot happens and where a lot of nerves get tense and frayed too. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are kind of maybe your general do's and don'ts or whatever?
Auditioning. Once again, I say do your homework. I love an actor that comes in that's prepared, that has a headshot and resume ready to hand in, that's looked at the sides and has either memorized it or is very familiar with it, and makes choices. I see a lot of actors. I do a lot of auditioning, and the ones that really stand out are ones that make bold choices. And whether it's, right or wrong for what we're looking for, they're not afraid to present something they've been working on. And I think it shows us a lot. It shows us that you're confident, that you're not afraid to kind of break the barriers, to do something that you feel strongly compelled to do. And you would be surprised how many people come in and do the same thing. They all kind of take the easy road, and they make little choices, but we want to see your take on it. We want to see your take on the character, and that's really what we're looking for. I'll have actors that come in that have focused solely on memorizing the material, and and it's hard. I know that's a challenge to memorize stuff. And so when they come in and they're just focused on the lines and they kind of glaze over and it's like a deer in the headlights. And I'm sitting there going, oh no, it's all about them trying to, basically remember the lines, which a lot of them don't, and they get stuck. But ultimately what we want to see in the audition is you breathing life into this character and your take on it, and that's what's going to make you stand out. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Breathing life into the character. And if you had any questions about what sides are, that's basically the little bit of a little excerpt of the script that they're going to be sending to you, and that's for your preparation.
Right.
Again, you're preparing. So essentially, for anybody who hasn't auditioned before, you're going to walk in the door. You usually have somebody there, sign in. Do you have your sides? And then you just sit and wait, and they'll let you know when you're on deck and when you'll be moving, into the room. And it's really not as scary a process as we make it out to be sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
We have nice people like her in the room.
Yeah.
So I think that, we tend to think like, we're being judged or, whatever.
I know.
But ultimately, you're just looking for, like, as you said earlier, you're looking for fresh faces. You're looking for somebody to fill the role. It kind of solves the problem for you if you find them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And believe it or not, we're actually rooting for them. We want them to do a great job. I am your biggest cheerleader in that session, So when you walk out the door, I want to be able to go, wasn't she great? Isn't she amazing? To kind of sway my client to book you. So, we actually want you to do an amazing job. I think one key to keep in mind, and maybe it helps with the nerves, is to remember why you're doing it. You're in there because you love it. This is like playtime.
Yes,
you get to do what you love to do.
Yeah.
So I think just embracing that and enjoying it, and being thankful that you got to act for, a couple minutes that day is, a good perspective to have.
Yes, exactly. I like that a lot. I think about some advice that I've seen online is like, do the job in the room. Like that's your chance to actually be that character, to, again, breathe that life into it. And have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, maybe the audition, you leave, and then, there's always that question of, am I going to hear anything? And then, a day passes and 2 days pass. But, I guess it's kind of like keeping momentum and looking toward the next thing.
Absolutely.
As far as us, but...
Absolutely. And trying to just leave it behind, do your best job. If you mess up, that's okay. If you did a great job, that's great. But try to leave it behind you when you walk out the door. I think that's the healthiest approach. And then start focusing on the next one and try to start lining up another audition for yourself and start working on new material. That helps because I know we're all focused on, did I get it? Are they going to call? And hopefully we will. Yeah. But there are so many things that go on behind the scenes in choosing a person for the part. And you could have just blown it out of the water during the audition, and you still may not get it. And that's okay, There are a lot of politics, a lot of cooks in the kitchen in deciding who gets that role. So being able to leave it behind and, focus on maybe your next acting class, another audition, is the healthiest way to keep going and not to obsess on, if you did a great job or not. Yeah. Persistence is key. Persistence is everything. I think you have to really want it. You have to really, it has to be like in your heart of hearts, something that you really want to do, because that's going to drive you down the road and that's going to keep you going. I have so many acquaintances, friends that have been acting for years and have just now started to book major roles. It's been 20 years. Wow. Sometimes it's less, sometimes you can get really great roles right away, but, it's about persisting and keeping the faith and just, keep doing what you love to do.
Yeah. It seems like, and that's wonderful advice. It seems that there are, like different types of people that different looks that also seem to be booking more and more here and there, like depending on like what shows are getting hot and popular.
Yeah.
And,
Sure. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point.
You got like the lab tech. And,
Yes. I kind of blew that up. Yeah. Absolutely.
And all that.
Kind of an important element with that is knowing who you are. I tell actors a lot that it's about like marketing. You got to know the product. So who are you? Are you a doctor? Do you come across as a housewife? Are you a mom? Are you a lab tech? Are you a police officer? And really skew all your material to that role, all of your headshots, if you have a reel, really speak to that, because what happens is it makes our job easier. If all of a sudden you walk in the room, we get a headshot, you look like a cop, you come in looking like a cop, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're a cop, It really, we don't have to take that extra step to say, oh, yeah, I could see him as a cop,
Yes.
Just knowing who you are and kind of looking on your resume to what roles you've been booking. And kind of take a hint from that as how people see you.
Yes, yes. Now, that does not mean, I imagine, showing up as a cop, like
Well,
in uniform or doctor's lab coat, maybe, right?
Yeah, sure. If you have like something that kind of reflects the cop, I had, for instance, we were doing kind of a construction spot, and the guys showed up in like kind of construction boots. And maybe like casual wear, just kind of a hint to the role helps. I think we appreciate that.
Yes, or maybe like a blue button-down shirt or something. Like something, okay.
Something easy like that. Yeah.
I can see that.
Our lab coat, like you said.
Yeah.
Clients love that.
Okay, do they?
Yes, absolutely.
You wonder about that. So then there's the other side of acting with print work as well. So would you mind just kind of glossing over what print work is?
Sure. So print work comes in all shapes and sizes. You get kind of more of a modeling type, mode. We don't really necessarily need actors, even though we do a lot of real life print work too. But we'll have clients that come in and they want, doctors or police officers or moms, for a campaign that they're running. Usage is kind of key for that. We'll negotiate that ahead of time when the client comes to us, but there's, it could be billboards, it could be on buses, it could be as simple as a marketing brochure in a doctor's office. When we put a breakdown together about the job to list all the specifics, we'll put what usage that is. For that, there is some acting, I believe, in modeling too. I have clients that have come to me doing a print campaign and they want actors. They don't want just models because they want, for instance, one client wanted a relationship between a doctor and a patient, and they really wanted that connection, which they weren't finding in people that just do a lot of modeling and don't really connect to material.
Yes.
So I think there's a big crossover for actors going into print work too these days. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yep.
And they don't have to look like models. They're real life people.
Absolutely.
Like every, you're probably looking for everybody that you would see, somebody on their cell phone, like thrilled getting news or,
Absolutely. Or we'll do, we do a lot of tourism stuff for Philly. So we'll do, all walks of life. We'll need kids, we'll need elderly people, and they want real people, they want, because they're marketing it to real people. So, we'll kind of tap into just every ethnicity, every male, female, child, baby, to fill those roles. Yeah.
And again, that's a great way to reach out to casting directors is maybe just get your face out there, and maybe you'll start booking there and potentially taking classes and working on that, getting experience. So our time's almost up. I just wanted to ask you about what's on the horizon for Mike Lemon Casting right now. Anything interesting you can share with us?
We're consistently doing commercials. That's kind of our bread and butter, commercials and industrials. We also do voiceovers for radio, for corporate stuff. We have a big project that we're working on that's kind of hush-hush right now, but it's for a streaming network, and it's a series filming in Philly. So we're very excited about that. Hopefully we'll be able to announce that soon. We've got some films circling to independent films, which is great. So we've got a bunch of stuff going on. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, Mike Lemon Casting is in King of Prussia, They've been there for about 30 years in Philly and moved out to King of Prussia now. And Melanie's been with the company for 6 years. How large is the organization? Like, you have how many casting directors?
Just me.
Yeah, okay.
Just
okay,
me,
okay.
yeah. We kind of scale up per project. If we have, a big film or whatever going on, then we'll bring in more folks to work on it. But I am the head of casting. So it's me. I have a casting associate, Dan Augusta, who works with me as well. And then, like I said, we'll have assistants come and go per project. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for
I'm so
coming.
glad that you came in.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's been fun.